I can remember about the only thing we used soybeans for was for hay for cattle. We called them hay beans.
Those were Laredo beans. They weren't even a true yellow bean. They were mostly black. My memory goes back far enough that I can remember the mules. We had a lot of mules here, but later on I can remember the pull combine in the field thrashing beans, and they'd sack them in 100-pound burlap sacks.
We grew beans down on the dairy farm at Augusta and planted them with a little 2-row planter. We harvested them with an old 5-foot Gleaner combine, pulled behind the Model A John Deere. If you were a little tardy harvesting them, they would pop out, and some of them would be laying on the ground when you came through with the combine.
You didn't get to grow good yields like we have now. A lot of our soybeans early on could have been in the 20s.
We might have a field here and there would do 30, but we had some did 10.
Back when I started farming, we were, 35 bushel an acre. If we got 40, we thought we were really doing well. And of course now we were talking 60s and even 70s. We had some earlier beans that were over 70, 75. So I mean, the yields have gone up tremendously.
What your grandfather did 50 or 75 years ago, probably nowhere close to what we're doing now.
Originally, a lot of the university people in various states, including Missouri, started trying to form a soybean association.
So the first part of each February happened to be Ag Week at the University of Missouri College of Agriculture. We were down there for several reasons and learning what we could to have a better farm. I tagged along as a young man with a bunch of folks that were my dad's age and older. And before you knew it, why, we had a board of directors and people scattered from all over the state and tried to set it up where the soybean areas were represented all by soybean growers.
The secretary for the Missouri Seed Improvement Association housed the records and did all the work for the Missouri Soybean Association. They didn't have employees. They just voluntarily did it. They saw the need in having an association of soybean growers.
Well, the organization became stronger and better, and more people participated, more ideas came to the table, and progress happened.
That's the way we began the organization. So it was a very humble beginnings, and it was by people that were committed to furthering the cause of the soybean farmer.
Once the Soybean Associations got established in the various states, that the Merchandising Council, we had to figure out some way that we, being the producer, had to fund our own instead of walking around with our hands out asking other people. The checkoff helped make that money happen. First few years, it was a voluntary program.
Well, we couldn't get money. That's what got me involved in the thing. Voluntary checkoff, is just a few people contributed. We proceeded to work for a mandatory checkoff.
We shot it 3 times before we finally got it passed. So when we got her passed, it was a good accomplishment. That felt good that we convinced enough people that this was the right thing to do. Because you always ought to be careful of how you spend other people's money. And those people had put their trust in us as board members.
But that was probably the next big key in it, is to get it where everyone had to participate. So the proof was on us that we're the believers, that we had to make it go. We had to sell it.
We were very emotional about it, and we were very committed to it. And we didn't have money. Bankers not going to just lend an association that hadn't got any money. So the whole board went out on a limb several times and personally guaranteed Soybean Association debts. We got the checkoff passed, and that's when we started doing things. We had enough money to fund things.
I think the checkoff has been a very good thing for the American soybean farmer. I'm confident that we are far better off with it than we would have been without it.
We have taken those checkoff dollars, and especially when we went to the national checkoff, we had the capability then to invest more money in more areas. And that has opened up the door, I think, to how we use the soybean today. And if we wouldn't have that checkoff, we wouldn't be anywhere as close to where we are today as far as production and as far as probably the price of soybeans.
I mean, it's probably helped us stay in farming, if you want to know the truth.
Missouri's farmers should be very proud of their checkoff organization because it's been a very proactive and progressive organization. Biodiesel started in Missouri.
Biodiesel would not be a word today if it hadn't been for the soybean people. Soybean oil, it used to be the dredge on the market. We knew what to do with the meal. I mean, all the livestock had to have soybean meal. Soybean oil just stacked up.
I remember the proposal that came to us, and we were down at the Lake of the Ozarks having our winter meeting, and Leon Schumacher had brought that to us, and we were pretty skeptical.
You know, a lot of people were afraid of it back in those days. They were afraid it was going to ruin their motor. They were afraid it was going to hurt their tractor or truck or whatever they might be running it in.
So we found, I think it passed by one vote, if I remember correctly, at that meeting, that we go ahead and investigate that and promote it.
No other state, for some reason, had come up with that idea.
And it took about all night to decide on what kind of a truck, and it later got the nickname Old Brownie.
It was a two-tone brown Ford pickup, and we had our Missouri Soybean Council name on it.
Tom Very drove that truck around promoting, and he just drove it and drove it and drove it.
And every 100,000 miles, they would tear it down and look it over and see how it was coming out, and it finally wound out that the Ag Engineering Department determined that burning soybean oil was more gentle to the engine than burning regular diesel.
You know, when I first saw that idea, I have to admit I had, my reservations about it. When I got on the board and things started to come together as far as making soybean oil into biodiesel, we started supporting that on the legislative side, and Missouri was really a leader there.
When we were back working on the biodiesel legislation, we had some of that research, solid research, that we could go to Congress with and with the legislation and say, we need some help here with this new fuel. It was more important that a farmer be there and explain to that senator and that congressman that it's important to me as a farmer to get a new use for my soybean oil so I can get a better price.
It's a great story. I mean, not only how it happened, but what the product is. Essentially to me, when you really think about it, you're harvesting sunshine.
And now we're producing way over 1 billion gallons of biodiesel in this country. The state of Missouri is number 2 in production of biodiesel. There are studies have been done that it added about 63 cents a bushel to a bushel of soybeans. So that's a tremendous amount of help to the price of soybeans.
Now it's, there's biodiesel plants using soybean oil in other states as well, and so the industry is really kind of taken off here, and it was fun to watch that develop over the years.
Fast forward another 15 years or so. Today, innovation continues to go on through our varietal development. We're developing new varieties even today that we hope farmers will take an opportunity to at least look at and consider for their operations, because these soybeans are specifically tailored and grown, bred, and developed in the state of Missouri. We're developing and working with the high oleic soybean trait, which is a non-GMO trait discovered at the University of Missouri in conjunction with University of Missouri researchers, MSMC, and USDA, that improves the fatty acid profile of soybean oil. You get heart-healthy benefits from it, and then you get the added benefits of not only shelf life, but baking, cooking, and frying at higher temperatures for longer durations, and really is a tremendous product. I'm excited about this technology, the Soylaic brand. I think it could be a significant game changer. And now as we bring on the Center for Soybean Innovation, we're really poised going forward to continue to be that leader in the soybean industry.
Missouri soybean programs realize what the challenges are, and I think they're hitting them head on.
With a population that's increasingly urban and detached from the farm, you know, how do you put a value on reaching third grade students through a program like Ag Education on the Move, which started at Missouri Soybean and now has a goal of reaching a quarter of all third grade students within the state of Missouri.
Oh, the education side is so important, I think, especially some folks that are a generation or so removed from the farm. Some have very little idea of what the farming operations are today.
We've now lost, the public doesn't understand us. They used to really look on us with fondness.
We need to educate not only our elected officials and their staff, but also the general public. We're not going to do anything to our land, our farm, that's not going to make it more sustainable and better for future generations to operate on and make a living. So we should welcome the opportunity to, invite the general public in and see what we're doing. It could only help us.
You know, it's time that those that are for agriculture, this is the time we need to fight the hardest.
We as farmers and producers need to be involved in policy issues, legislative issues, be talking to our congressmen, our senators, our state reps, state senators to help educate those folks about ag issues and what's important to agriculture, production agriculture.
The soybean to me has almost endless opportunities.
Our biggest challenge is it's what do we do with those ever increasing bushels of soybeans. We're continually looking at how we can do other things with the soybean than ship it, put it on a barge and a boat and ship it somewhere, That's important, that's very important. We've got to continue that as much as we can, but we also have to be looking at other areas. There's no better soybean association or merchandising council in the country. We have always worked together, and when you work together, you can make a lot of things happen.
The leaders that farmers across the state have elected to these boards are some of the most innovative and technically savvy folks that I've ever met. These are folks that have a passion for what they do, for what we do, and what we do on behalf of the Missouri soybean farmers. That's how we can confidently say that we're empowering Missouri soybean farmers through innovation, because we are. We're looking ahead on behalf of ourselves and our fellow producers.